All right. Welcome, everyone. We're super excited to share with you how to create a STEM event and hopefully foster some community connections in the process. Again, my name is Shantae Pitts, and I am the Learning and Development Specialist for STEM Education Works. I do professional development, so if you've bought stuff from us before, you probably have seen my face once or twice or heard my voice once or twice. Um, so Kim's doing that now. You don't have to worry about it. That way we can focus on it, so you don't have to worry. Maryland, welcome. All right. So we're gonna get started. Medina is gonna help run this with me today, and hopefully you'll get to hear more of her voice this time and not as much of mine. Anyways, so we're gonna start with just again a little introduction. So again, Shantae, I am the Learning and Development Specialist, and
Medina Coates. I install and implement studio spaces in elementary schools. We've been diving into some middle and high schools as well. Both of us are former educators, so thank you for those who are still in the field and in the classroom and teaching and doing all those great things.
Yes,
we appreciate you.
We do, and we're excited that you're here, and hopefully we can share a little bit of our knowledge, and you guys can also share some of your knowledge as we go through this, because we love to hear from you as well as sharing what your ideas are or what you've done. But we're going to dive into a little bit of the ideas that we've taken and things that we've applied when we've created STEM events in our experiences. In the district I used to work in, I was a STEM specialist, and I got to create a lot of STEM content, and I also created a lot of STEM events. One of the things that I did was every 6 weeks, our district would have STEM Day where everyone in the district was doing STEM, and it was a lot of fun. So some of that knowledge I'm going to use in this. And then Medina and I have done created events for our office and for communities. So we're going to talk about how we do that and hopefully share some ideas. So that's the goal. And hopefully that's why you came. Please, again, share any and all information. I love that you're telling us how you found out about us and the ways that you got information about this event or this webinar. And hopefully we'll see you at the next one. Next month, just real quick before we dive in, next month we are taking a pause for webinars because I know there's a lot of spring breaks, but also we are going to throw in a little bonus one that is only talking about middle school, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we offer for middle school because I know that's kind of that in between, and I want to make sure that we talk about what we offer and what we can hit on because middle school, it's out near and dear to my heart. I was an 8th grade teacher. So I love middle schoolers. And so it's just going to be a really quick 30-minute Q&A for middle school. So that is going to go out to you guys, but it's not going to be a typical webinar where we talk about this type of topics. So I just want to get that out there. But then we'll be returning and doing our usual in April. So hold tight for us. But we did know that that's just spring break. There's a lot going on in the month of March, and we didn't want to overwhelm people. And we didn't want you to miss out, of course. So without further ado, today's goal.
Yeah, today's goal. So we really want to be able to help you out with planning a STEM night, and it can be family night, it can be a school related night. What's great about this, just like in anything with education, it's very fluid. You can make it however best fits your needs. And so we really just want to make sure to give you, again, like Shantae said, information that we've experienced and what works best for us. We'd love to hear your input as well. You can put that in the chats if you'd like to. And again, whether you are a veteran teacher, organizer, planner, whether you're maybe a beginner in STEM, we're going to take a look into this and see how we can help you kind of dive into this and hopefully create a positive experience for you when you do hopefully host a STEM event for yourself and your community.
Yay! Are you ready for this? I know I am. I'm excited. We're really excited about, what we did, honestly. Prepare yourself. We had a lot of fun. So this is just an overview of what we're going to talk about, but we are going to dive into it, like actually dive into it.
And this is like obviously the steps, when it comes to event planning. We're going to get into more of the STEM side of things as well. But these are really your top 10 with mostly any events or planning. You want to definitely create a purpose and we're going to talk about what is the purpose of your STEM night. And we're not just talking about a family night. We're obviously talking about specific STEM night. Have a budget, form a committee. We're going to focus on what specific STEM activities do you want to incorporate to make it STEM worthy. Obviously, get your volunteers. What kind of a venue do you want to have? Entertainment, food, and spreading the word. And what does that all look like?
All right. So here we go.
This is definitely a big one, I think, you have to know what the purpose is for your event. So again, are you starting out? Do you already have a STEM program, or what is it going to look like moving forward? So here are some questions that we wanted to propose to you. What is it that you hope to accomplish? Are you promoting a specific program at your school or even at your company? Shantae and I are both former educators, and so we've done it in the school. And so when we stepped outside of the classroom and started working for STEM Education Works, we were able to bring STEM night into our office, into a business setting. So that looked a little bit different for us, planning in a business setting instead of a school setting, which was still a great experience. Are you wanting to increase community support and reach your families or incoming students, which we'll get to in the next slide? So you really want to just think about what is your purpose of this event? And the next slide I like is because it really focuses then on the who. So do you want it to be an in-house only school event? Do you want it to just pertain to the students and the teachers and staff at that school? Do you want to outreach to your other local schools? For instance, in my district, not all of our schools were a STEM school. So we invited local teachers and staff only and created a STEM evening where it was just teachers and staff to take away knowledge and lessons back to their schools and then teach their classrooms with it. You mentioned you did like a day of STEM, correct?
Yes.
With the grade levels within your classroom.
Yep, our whole district did it, and we had 15 elementary schools. So every elementary school did a STEM day, and it was so much fun to do with just like across the district. And it was very big, celebrated. The news came, and it was very celebrated in the community as well, which I feel like, it's really exciting and really fun.
Yeah, so you can definitely make this with what you want. It could just be community members. Just show what you're doing in the schools. A lot of those families and communities don't know what's going on in that building. So this allows the doors to be open and to invite them in.
Yeah, and of course, like involving the community, not only is it amazing to show what you're doing within your environment, whether it's in the school or in an after-school program, but also if the community actually gets to come in and see what's taking place, then you have people who are looking to sponsor and help donate more things to your school or your environment. So I say the more people you can get to come in, the better it is for everyone, because the community wants to invest in the community. So as much as we can involve the community, I think, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Right now. All right. So
the fun part.
Unfortunately, we do have to talk about budget.
Yeah. I definitely would say too, especially if you're a school, to sit down with your administration, see what budget's out there, talk to your PTO, to see what you can play with. Also, what do you have readily available that you might not need to spend money on because you have access to materials already within the building, or maybe you have a parent that has a good resource that can help out before you start really having to spend a lot of money. Some questions we, mentioned was how much you're gonna have to spend, obviously, where is it coming from, what is the process, and how are you gonna be able to buy the materials? Sometimes you do get reimbursed through PTO, but yeah, finding that budget is gonna be the key to kind of starting off this STEM night. And STEM can be expensive sometimes, but if you're creative and use your resources, and again, look at those community people and businesses, sometimes things can work out.
They might donate, hopefully. Yeah. But again, we understand, because again, I was a public school teacher. Yeah. I've taught in many different types of public school settings. And any type of setting, money is always a thing. So I think first and foremost is like looking into, do we even have funds to do that? And if not, how do we get people to just donate? Because like our STEM night, a lot of the stuff that we gathered was from Dollar Tree, like cheap stuff. We looked online and found free resources as well to help us. So that, again, I understand the money part. So that's the part where I'm like, hey, if I can get a list of even parents that are like, oh yeah, we'll donate $10 worth of stuff from Dollar Tree, that we can at least get some commitments from people around.
And I feel like we're not really telling you anything new. I mean, I feel like especially educators, we know how creative you can be and with grants but just it's amazing how just having a conversation and networking and asking people how they're just willing to give, knowing it's for educational purposes, for sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Yes.
But unfortunately, you really need to start with the budget to get the
unfortunately
ball rolling.
Yeah. But again, it doesn't have to be super expensive, but it will cost some. So how do we get people invested in it? And then on top of that, it's also like, what kind of venue? If you're at a school, are you able to use the school? Who do you need to talk to about that? What permission do you need to get? Or is there if you're in elementary school, maybe the high school will let you host there. But that's a big thing when it comes to getting a venue.
And I do think it's okay if you're starting out, maybe start small. And maybe the next year you go a little bigger and you go a little bigger until maybe finally it's this big thing where your community, knows that once a year, the school's going to have, or this company's going to have this STEM night. It's amazing. And there's blow ups and there's this and that and movies playing and, it can be small at first, and then it can grow as, more people get word of it.
Yeah.
So,
and at that venue, of course, those are all these things that we have on the screen that you're going to have to see what you're going to need, whether it's transportation. And I know from my experience, we have had schools that were like, oh, we're so about this that you can park at our school and we can bus people over. And again, that's going to cost, and who all is going to be involved in that? Or do you have enough parking space for people who are going to come? And of course, we're going to assume everybody wants to come to our event, which, getting people excited about it is a part of that, which we will talk about, bringing some energy to, outreaching to get people excited about it. If you're going to have food and drinks, what kind of food, what kind of drinks, and who's willing to donate that, which we will talk about a little bit more too.
But things I think that are simple that we kind of forget that when planning, like Wi-Fi. Does it have Wi-Fi? Are there tables and chairs already there? Or do we need to bring some in? Do we need to get those donated as well? Is it accessible for the young and the old? We had, all ages at our STEM night, which was fantastic. Lots of things to think
about. And these pictures you're seeing are from our STEM night. Medina was very smart.
Pulled some pictures from our STEM night. We'll talk about theme and everything, but as you can see, or maybe you haven't picked up on, but we did do a Mario theme. So we'll get into that.
And we're going to talk about it.
Kids had a blast. So just some basic event planning things to think about when hosting. Obviously, we love themes. Yes. As educators, Shantae and I are very much a thematic partnership. We love themes. Who doesn't love a good theme?
Right.
So think about a good theme: oceans, dinosaurs, superheroes. We picked Mario. The more relevant you can be with your community, anything that's happening within the world or with your kids, it just makes it more fun, makes it more memorable. And so we picked Mario. Kids had a blast. Even the parents knew about Mario. I was a 90s kid, so obviously I'm showing my age. And so that was a big deal with Super Mario Brothers. So we made t-shirts, very easy. Shantae made them, on the Cricut, I think it was.
Yeah.
We decorated using materials from Dollar Tree. We had the Mario movie playing because that just came out. We're going to talk about too, like our food was all Mario themed, but all of our STEM activities were based on Mario. So it just made it more engaging and fun for our community members. So having a theme, I think, is a fun way to kick off your planning when it comes to your STEM night.
Now, do you have to be over the top like we were? No. But again, a lot of stuff we drew or traced. We used the projector to trace it. So that was a big thing. We're going to go to the chat for a second because I do want to address some people's stuff before we move on because I think it's really important. There we go.
Yes.
They said we are hosting a public library and we want to host a community STEM event once a month with different themes like agriculture, weather, light, shadow, to raise awareness of the library STEM materials and to bring all ages of the community together and exploring together, which library is a great resource.
Absolutely.
Also, you guys. I used a lot of the library when I was doing it. I'm not going to lie to you, which is amazing. I love it. Jerry, who's one of our partners, he is sharing. He had to drop off because he has a call that he has to do too, but he's sharing some of the stuff that they did starting in 2014. So if anyone wants to look at that resource,
perfect.
It's on there for you. So I love it. Thank you.
And it's great because there's just so many ways you can do this. And this is just one small way that we did this. So yeah, love a good theme. I'll let Shantae talk about the good old fun.
I know. Sorry, we do have to talk about standards, which honestly, it matters. But here's something that it's kind of near and dear to my heart, and that is, how do we make a purpose? Of course, we want to do this because we want to spread awareness about STEM, but we also want to make sure that what we're doing is building up our students, our kids, whoever's involved. So I say reach out to your local schools. If you're not the school, reach out to the local schools and say, hey, what standards do you feel like the students are struggling to connect with? Or what standards were a lower performing standard that we can make sure is a part of our STEM night or a part of our STEM event? So that's where I start. And of course, standards, everyone has their opinions on them, of course, but we still have to figure out how we can help raise that awareness with our students and our community. So if we focus on the ones that we're struggling on, people who are coming in that might not know about that can understand where we're headed and what we're trying to grow. So I just put some lovely data on the board for you. Don't hate me for it.
Well, and what's great about this too is that the kids aren't even going to know that you're hitting a standard, and it makes it so much more purposeful. That it's not just, oh, hey, we're showing up to this event to play, which for them it is.
Yeah.
But at the same token, we're hitting standards that they need to learn, and that teachers, if we're doing a standard they struggle with, may not really want to teach, but they're going to be getting these standards coming to these events, which then
reiterates what we're trying to work on. So I say select some standards that you're going to build off of for the purpose of helping grow that knowledge. And it allows for, the students to be able to bring their parents in or whomever, to bring people in to see, oh, this is ways that we can also reiterate this at home. Hey, remember how we did this together and was a project we did together? Which I think is a great way to really build up that.
And I love that you mentioned reach out to your schools, because you may not be a school having a STEM night. Just literally call your school, email your school. Those teachers know exactly what their grade level is struggling with.
Trust me. When I was a teacher, if you would have reached out and been like, hey, we want to hit on this, I would have been like, I'm going to volunteer also, because I would love that. For you to reiterate that. All right. So if you know me at all, you know my narrative lifestyle. And I know you've probably heard me talk about it 1,000 times, and you're probably like, Shantae, how many times are we going to talk about narratives? But also, so my focus on this particular one that I put together was force in motion. So what I did is I decided it's important that we create 2 different tracks. You can do as many as you want. You can do one if it's like, that's too much for me. But what I'm trying to do is say, we're going to actually go through the engineering design process with our parents, with our community members, whoever is coming in with the students. So I'm giving 2 different tracks. So the one activity is where characters on the game Mario Kart are struggling to finding a kart that has enough speed and traction to help them win a race. Can you engineer a kart that will take them to victory? Then there's also a track that Super Mario Brothers are looking for a new track for their characters to use. Can you create and build a new racetrack for Mario and his friends to have the ultimate adventure? So kids, families, whomever can pick what track they want to go on. So as they're coming into the building, they get to have what adventure. It's like the Choose Your Own Adventure books. Like, who didn't love those? I did.
And we even talked, you could do like a primary. You could do K1, 2, you could do 3, 4, 5, or not even add a grade level to it, and just let kids and parents decide on their own, or do
which
more
track
difficult.
They want to go on.
And we love a good narrative. It makes it more.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Let me write them for you if you want me to. Seriously, I will. Let me let somebody in. I think Kim's.
Oh yes.
Didn't realize there's something.
We got it.
All right. So once we have some narratives down, now I'm gonna just for a second. Again, I know you've seen this. Sorry. But not sorry. Like, also.
Well, some people might not have. It's okay.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this before, yay! I'm so excited. So I have that ask. That's when they walk into the building. They're going to start with the ask. They're going to choose the adventure. And this is, again, the brain of Shantae coming up with it. So if you're like, I'm not doing that, 100%, you don't have to. But I'm like, how do I teach them the engineering design process the way that I want to teach my students how to do STEM? How do I bring that to life? Well, what if each station was a part of the engineering design process And as they go through the activities, they're building upon that and then getting to the end of it. And that's what my thought process
is. And this is within standards, which is what we need our kids to do. We both taught engineering design process within our classroom. And so that's where we kind of came up with this idea of how do we make a STEM night very relatable? We're not just going to make crafts and play.
Right.
You know,
but and it's hard to hit the engineering design process at each station. So I was thinking, well, this is the best way, in my opinion, to make sure that they get to do it. And then as a group of whomever is coming in together, they can work together with kids and build this together, where you have a bunch of different minds blending. So whether it's grandparents and parents or aunts and uncles that come with them, everyone's getting to kind of collaborate as a whole.
And hopefully when they're done, they can remember, first we asked ourselves this question. We then thought about how to, create this prototype. And then we made a plan, an idea, and they can go through those steps and reiterate some of the terms and the ideas.
That's the idea of this. So this is where I start, because again, once we have a purpose of who we're reaching, we can go from there. And then from there, we're going to take that information that we've gathered and create whatever thematic idea that you want to go off of. And if you're nerdy as us, if you're as nerdy as us, the themes are going to fall pretty quickly, and you're going to have to, pick and choose from there. And then from that, design stations that take the kids and their families or whomever through each of the steps of the engineering design process. And then at the end, they're getting to test it out and talk about it with each other. The one thing I really, really love about these narratives, just to real quick reiterate, is that those people who are going through the process of building the cart and the people who are going through the process of building the racetrack, at the very end, they all come together, and then they get to mesh and try out their carts on the track. So
which I loved.
Yeah. Everyone's getting to collaborate at the end, regardless of which track you picked.
And really differentiating, which in the education world is a big buzzword. I have 3 kids of my own, 5 all the way to 13. And to have my 5-year-old possibly build the track, and then have my 13-year-old design a car, and at the end come together and they can work together and put the two together.
So fun.
Love it.
So fun.
You're amazing.
Okay.
You are.
We're going to do that. Got it. All right, so we're actually going to get into the fun part of it all, right? Because we've gotten through the whole heavy stuff where we have to be like,
to make it STEM.
Right, because again, the purpose of this is to bring STEM to life. And just soapbox moment, thank you. Defining STEM is huge. Everyone has these definitions of what STEM is, and helping decide as a community, what does STEM look like for our community? How are we building off of that for building up our community? Because in the end, we do want our students to be contributing members to the community. Yeah. So letting the community be a part is what's going to make it thrive, in my opinion. So whatever you can do to build that definition and all stand behind it, winning. Yes. All right, off the soapbox. Go for it.
So here's a picture of us, some kiddos flying co-drone. So that was fun. And so basically with your activities, again, what is your purpose? What's the value of the activity? You don't just want to throw in activities, with no reason behind it. Make sure you have space. With this specific, the reason why I threw in this picture is because we had to have a specific space for the drone. So kids weren't just flying it within this giant area that could hit things and knock things over. Do you need a sink nearby? Do you need, water or whatever it is? Be thoughtful of that, mindful of it. Speakers, presenters. In our situation, we didn't necessarily have speakers and presenters, but could you get some?
Though.
Absolutely, yes. Volunteers.
Lots of those.
Supplies and tech needed. Thank goodness for IT. We had so much help getting all of our stuff plugged in and Wi-Fi and everything connected and up and running for us. And then volunteers. Can't do it without the support of volunteers.
No, you can't. Again, anything as we're doing this, questions or whatever, you can unmute, send a message to us. We have this up. We're looking at it as it's coming in.
Yes.
If you have ideas, if you have stuff that you've done differently or something that you thought of, please, for real. We love that. And I want this to be all of us communicating too. Like, my voice is annoying to me. So Just saying.
I like it.
Okay.
Think about your time and your duration for each activity. Again, this is very fluid. It's going to look different. Are you doing what Shantae said and doing a whole day's worth in class, at a school? Is it outside of school, outside, inside? Is it in the evening? We did ours, I think, for a couple hours in the evening. We wanted to make sure that families had time to go through each station. Transitions, obviously making sure that there's safety in place for all ages, ADA compliance. We want to make sure that all people of learning disabilities, special needs are able to contribute and play just as well as anybody else. And then obviously documenting and engagement, taking the fun pictures and all those great things, social media, videos, and making sure too that all of those can be posted as well.
Yes. So. Parent permission.
Yeah.
Of course. Yay, this part.
Setting the date. I'm sure some of you in the education world know exactly what this beautiful colored graphic of calendar is.
You've only looked at it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
What day do I have off again?
Right, exactly. When's spring break?
Yes.
Obviously, state testing is huge. We actually live in Lafayette, Indiana, which is a major university. So, Purdue has major sporting events. And so I'd hate for you to have a plan of a STEM night and then there's some big,
basketball game or something
game.
happening.
For us, it's Purdue IU. You definitely don't want to schedule on those nights.
No.
But just be mindful of your event scheduling. And after doing some research, they and for us, it was about 4 weeks out that you want to make sure that you plan out. But really the more the merrier. 6 weeks is kind of what we it took a lot of planning. So give yourself as much time as you can.
Also, still have a life. Yeah. Outside of this.
What's that?
Listen, I get it.
What are you talking about?
I know. What does that look like?
Forming a committee, which a lot of you are, aware of. Just motivate your volunteers. We've got parents out there who do so much. These days, both parents are working, it seems like, out of the home, and then we have some parents that are at home and willing to come in and make copies and whatnot. But be specific about your goals. With this being STEM related, that might be very intimidating to people who are willing to volunteer. So to make sure you're just clearly communicating those goals with them. Be flexible. We all have lives, kids, no kids, jobs, 2 jobs, whatever that might be. Down here, consider how your potential committee members like to work, and just don't be afraid to ask for help. I know as a former educator, I like to be in control and I like to make sure I can do it all. And it's okay to ask.
What's that like?
It's okay to ask for help. More the merrier.
Yeah.
And lots of people have great ideas, and it always works better when you've got a group helping and it's not.
But it's just so fulfilling when you do it yourself. No, just kidding. No, it's really hard. It's really hard. I know it's hard. But people really do want to help. I've realized more and more now on the other side, it's being part of a corporation, how much the corporation actually does want to help.
Yeah. They
just didn't know there was a need. And I'm like, why did I not think of that more as an educator? Well, because I was like, I can do this. I've got this, right? Yeah. And then it becomes where you just don't have time to breathe. So definitely.
And as a teacher, my parents were a huge asset. They were community working members as well. Did I say that right? Working member. Anyways, you get the point.
They worked in the community.
Thank you. And they were great resources, and they could help me out with a lot of things. So ask for volunteers.
Yes. And that's the next slide.
The next slide.
My bad. Yeah. I got really carried away.
You're good.
I didn't know that.
I think to ask for help from your administration. They've got resources as well. Sometimes they have the money in different places we might not know about, and secret accounts or and resources. So don't
secret
be afraid.
Accounts. If they had that, email me and let me know that you found that out. I would be like, what? I think also again, it is kind of a lot when you're trying to do this and there's not a lot of motivation around you, because I know as someone who's
it's
like
a lot of work.
Full of energy, I know that you are all like, man, thank God I didn't have to work with her because she's so extra. I know, I agree. But I would say, like, if you're the only one bringing the energy, it's really exhausting. And you don't want to put that pressure on people that are like, I'm too overwhelmed. So how do we get buy-in without just overwhelming ourselves? That's a huge thing. Mm-hmm. And something you have to consider. And if you can't get people in your area like motivated to do that, now what, right? So I would just say, reach out for help and try to find another high energy person that's willing to
and again,
give
it's
to you a
okay to
little
start
bit.
small. it's okay to start small.
Exactly.
Few volunteers, few people, and next year maybe it's bigger.
Show what you got going.
Yeah. With that being said, specifically looking for volunteers, I just wanted to mention, with it being STEM related, local engineering companies are a great resource when it comes to sponsors, volunteers, obviously providing raffle prizes. That always makes it fun. Universities is what came to mind with us having Purdue right around in our backyard, with science and engineering departments. Sometimes those college kids would love to come and support local businesses or companies or activities like that. Parent volunteers, and then high school STEM clubs, robotics. Those kids love to come out, get the experience, especially if they're going to go into education or even science. They love to come show off what they know and can help as well. So those are just some like specific volunteers to be thinking about.
Yeah. So if you're doing it where it's sort of like a conference or a show type concept where you have like the vending area too, or there's vendors that are showing off stuff, that also helps a lot with getting people in the community to want to come in and see that. Sorry, I just have people that are trying to come in and they're locked out. Anyways, don't be afraid to do that. Now, the creation of the outreach. Just one of the things that we did feel like really helped get people excited and want to come to our event was just the whole outreach idea, getting people involved. Again, I reached out to local news outlets when I was doing it, and they were like, oh yeah, let's talk about it on the news. Some of them came to our event and did a video about it and talked about it. And then everybody started emailing and reaching out and saying, hey, I want to contribute next time, or how can I be involved? So there's a lot of local area news outlets that are like, yeah, let me talk about it. So don't be afraid to do that.
Well, because I'd hate for everybody to do all this work and then nobody come.
It's happened. So trust me.
Yeah.
I've been in that moment. If you feel like people are not showing up, please email me because I'll drive. I'll be there. I'll come. I'll help. I'll support you.
And so here we did add a QR code, which made it super user friendly, that they scanned, and that's how they registered for our STEM night. And then we showed you on the next slide here what happened when they did scan it. It brought them to a Google form, which was great for us. We wanted to know if they were attending, who was coming. We didn't need to know names, but just how many kids were coming or adults. They gave us their ages, which was great because the co-drones, we wanted to make sure that was more of an older age activity. So we said 13 and above. And so we knew kind of roughly how many kids were going to be in that area. And then any comments, you could even add like if there's any special needs that were going to be coming so that you could be prepared for that. Food, it helped us realize how much food we needed. And so it was just a really great way for people to register, and then for us on the end to know how many people were coming and what all we needed to plan for ahead of time. We then actually sent out at a second time when it was closer to the date, just in case people decided at the last minute they wanted to come. And then of course you might have a couple people trickle in at the last minute.
Yeah, and there will be some.
Yeah. And we were always prepared for that with extra stuff. But having that Google form was
so helpful.
A huge benefit.
So
having that QR code on our flyer. Food, we just had to show more of our theme here. We made it all Mario themed. We had the cheese balls, and we had the mystery cubes, the star cookies, the banana peels. I mean, we had lots of other options, but here were just a few that just kind of made it fun, and the kids just thought it was great.
And this is pretty inexpensive if you look at what you're seeing here. That was the other thing. It's like, okay,
groceries these days, whoo,
I don't even want to go there. But so like the firepower thing, again, we had help where we were like, hey, somebody else take the food,
and if everybody contributes one thing, you guys know, I mean, if somebody buys the bananas, cheese, it's very helpful. So
but that's just an overview of like what we put out there, because we felt like it was helpful to see kind of like, oh, if you did a theme, could you also do food? And look how
the drinks were all thematic.
Again, basic it really is. Like, it's nothing super special, but it was super fun for the kids. They're like, oh my gosh, firepower! Like,
we had, I think, fruit skewers. What were those? Like the
flower. Oh yeah, they built their own flower. Like the
skewers with strawberries,
piranha plants, and they built it with fruit.
Yeah,
it was very fun, and it was like an interactive where they got the fruit and they built it onto the stick.
It just was so fun.
It was really cute.
Yeah.
We had we have someone in our building that is amazing at all of that. So shout out to Megan.
Found out a resource that
she was like, I got this. I'll run that part, and I was like,
okay, somebody's doing food.
One less thing,
right?
Yeah.
And then we talked. We asked a few people to give us some of their testimonies, and we had somebody say that it wasn't just fun for their kids. Their kids had a blast. They couldn't stop talking about it. But she as well, as a mom who brought all of her kids, she's like, here I am bringing all these kids. And it was an event that was fun for her. She's like, I enjoyed it. It was just as much fun for me as it was for the kids. Then we had a dad who brought 2 girls, and he was really excited because he had never used some of the technologies that we had available for them to play with.
Something
and so
different.
he thought some of the 2 technologies we had available were really neat that he had never seen, never heard of, and would have probably never had a chance to use had he not come to our STEM night. So those were 2 examples.
And
I mean,
really people spoke to me afterwards too, just talking about how it really helped them understand what the purpose is of STEM too. Just like, oh, I didn't realize that STEM could be this, and like what it really was. And then they're like, oh, I really want to make sure my kids are going to get this access, because that's super important as well. Super important as well.